Stampers! I've got a project for you today that I'm going to illustrate how to put this background in. It's just like a faded woods in the background. This can be used for many different projects. Today I'm using it with the deer from the Nature's Beauty stamp set from Stampin' Up. I just love all these images and it's become one of my favorite stamp sets. So we're going to start with our background, and we're going to use watercolor paper for this. And this piece of watercolor paper is 3 by 5.25. You're going to find all the dimensions for the panels down below this video. Just click show more under the description and they're all there, along with all the links to the products. You can shop with me 24/7. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and along with your order you'll also get 10 exclusive tutorials for the month. So it pays to shop with me. Let's get started on this project here. I'm going to bring in a non-porous craft sheet here just to work on to catch the water, because we're going to be spritzing this watercolor paper and getting it good and wet. I have the Stampin' Up spritzer here, and I'm just going to get this paper nice and wet here. You want it nice and wet so that your colors run. And we're going to do direct to paper on top of this wet sheet. And I think I'm going to start with my lightest color, and that's going to be Highland Heather here. And what I'm going to do is just make some lines in this panel. And it's okay if they run or smear and all that good stuff. We just want to get some color in here. And I think I'm going to put in some Smoky Slate too. I'm using the short edge when I'm putting this in. And you can go both directions here. I love how it's already making a nice smeary background. Let's add some Misty Moonlight. You want to kind of stay with cool colors when you want your background to look kind of wintry. So cool by, I mean cool for the tone of the color. Okay, and then I'm going to add just a bit of cinnamon cider. I'm not going to add a whole lot, but I want some cinnamon cider in here just to go along with our deer and have it, it'll look kind of woodsy. There we go. Maybe I'll just put some more. So I see a lot of white in here, and I think I just want a little bit more of this Highland Heather. You can always go back and add more, right? Okay, so I have that put in, and now I'm just going to take a heat tool and I'm just going to dry this paper, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I've got my watercolor paper all dry, so I'm going to set that aside. See how it gets all muddly looking inside, and that's just what we want. And you can kind of play with it to see which direction you want to have your paper. I think I'm going to have it this direction, and we're going to set that aside for now, and we're going to work on our deer. So I need a piece of basic white cardstock, just a scrap, and I'm going to bring in Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp my deer. This is such a cute image. It's been one of my favorites since the stamp set come out. So I'm going to stamp it on this basic white with Memento Tuxedo black. This ink is just perfect to use with your Stampin' Blends. You don't have to worry about your outlines bleeding when you use those markers. And I'm going to start coloring it in with cinnamon cider. I'm going to use the light cinnamon cider to start out. And these are Stampin' Blend markers. They're alcohol based and they blend just beautifully. And you don't have to worry about going outside the lines with this when you're coloring it in, because we're going to be cutting this deer out. So I'm going to color it down. I'm going to leave this part of his chest, just the bottom part there, that dark area. I'm going to leave white. along with just a part of its belly. So I'm making a line there just so I know where it is. And I don't want to cover that up. And then I'm going to go down the legs. Get the back legs. I'm just being careful not to cover that part of the belly up. I just want it to be a white-tailed deer, and they have white bellies. And then I'm going to bring in the dark cinnamon cider, and anywhere there is dark in the image where it's stamped, I'm going to add some of this dark just to make it like along the right side of its neck. You're going to see that it's dark there. Actually, kind of all the right side of it, right in the middle of its forehead. There's some on the ear, on his back haunch. I think that's what it's called, right? Along the legs. You'll see all those dark areas that the stamp image gives you that actually shows where it's supposed to be dark at, which is really helpful when coloring, right? So there I have that done. And then I want to darken his feet. And I'm using a Stampin' Blend black marker. So we're going to color those hooves in with that. Okay. And just like that, he's all colored. I mean, there's not a lot to this, to coloring. So I'm going to get my scissors out here, and I'll be back in a moment. I'm just going to cut this deer out, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I just want to show you a little tip. There's this area here in between its front legs that needs to be cut out. So I'm just going to cut along one of the legs, just the outline of it there, till I get that to that section, and then I'm able to cut it out. And when you glue this image down, you won't even notice that they've been cut apart. So see, they'll just go blend right back together when you glue it down. So that's how I got that little section out. I didn't try to poke a hole or anything to go around it. I just cut between the legs to separate them. So there is our deer. So we're going to set him aside for right now. And we're going to get put some snow in here. And what I did was I have a 1.5 inch strip of basic white cardstock. It's 1.5 by 5.25. And it just fits the bottom of this. And I'm going to rip some of this off. And I'm going to make like little snow drifts here in the background. And I'm tearing towards me, and that way it leaves this cool edge to it. I don't know if you can see that kind of torn edge there. And that's perfect for this. It really looks like fluffy snow back there when you leave that edge on. So that's how I got my snow, and we're just going to glue that on. I'm using this multi-purpose glue. It's my favorite adhesive. I'm a glue girl for sure. So I've just gluing that to the bottom of this panel here. There we go. And then I'm going to glue my deer on. Just add in a little bit of glue to the legs. I don't get super crazy with my glue. I'm really doing it very light. And let's see, let's put him right about here. You want to make sure that his ears and everything are on there. So I have them all on here. And now I'm going to take a light Smoky Slate Stampin' Blend marker, and I'm going to use the brush end for this. I'm going to turn my cardstock this way, and I'm going to just add some footprints. And what I'm doing is I'm going to show you here on my scrap paper. I'm kind of just laying the tip of the Stampin' Blend marker down to make the little footprints leading up to where he's standing at. It really brings a lot to this scene. You can stagger them, and don't get too slow at it, else it's going to look too uniform and it'll look a little funny. So there's the little footprints, and that was super easy to do. and it was fun, right? So we've got our main image panel all done. It was just that quick. And we have this great background in there. And look how different this one looks to this one. They'll never be the same, but I added a lot more of that Highland Heather to this one to get it a little more cool on it. So if you want it a little darker, you put some darker colors in, and there we have it. So to put this together, I have a Smoky Slate card base here. It's 5.5 by 8.5, and then I folded it in half. And then I have a basic white panel on here, and it is 3.25 by 5.5. Inside I have a white panel, and it's 4 by 5.25 for the inside. And we're just going to glue this on the front, or use your tape runner, whatever you want to use. And I like to make sure I get plenty of adhesive on this watercolor paper, just to make sure it stays down, because it gets a little warped when you heat it up and such. So I'm going to put this on here, center it on that white panel. There we go. And there you have it, today's super cute card. And I didn't put a sentiment in this because I really like having these on hand for in the winter scenes like this, because I can use it for a multitude of different things. Thank you, thinking of you, get well, whatever. So there's our project for today. Thanks for joining me. Bye.